$550 for a chat. Is this unreal? That's fucking crazy, dude. Do you think a lot of the LARPers will leave after the 30th? I feel like there's too many people that are invested in like Pokemon where they're like, oh, this is like my business now. There's like a big discussion to be had around all of this. I have a question. Is the what are those guys called? Those LARPers? They are Jarchomp and what's his name? Oyama's Collectibles. OyamaStrading.com. Oh, planned to start July 20. It's already happened. Or did they cancel it? Book a chat. $550 for a chat. One-time payment per consult. What the fuck? What? Is that real life? I'm sorry. Is this unreal? That's fucking crazy, dude. What fuck? Replacing the classroom-focused Machamps mentorship form factor is a return of the 1 hour ad hoc 2-to-1 private consult. Sessions are first come, first served, request only, and client-driven in agenda. We can prompt or provide an intake form. Ultimately, you'll bring in the questions and topics. No bundles, no minimum commitments. Topics can be anything, but should generally focus on Pokemon TCG, buy, sell, trade, and or content and social media. Limited to 2 to 3 total bookings per week due to bandwidth and availability. Nothing discussed should be treated as professional financial advice. This is a 1 hour consultation. Focus on sharing experience and opinions of 2 professionals who each scaled 7-figure annual revenue businesses in the niche. Specific results or outcomes aren't guaranteed. Dude, $550 fucking dollars is so much money to talk to somebody for 1 fucking hour. I run my own business separate to OKJLUV, and I don't even fucking charge this much for 1 hour of my time. And I fucking do something that actually matters, okay? Not to fucking toot my own horn, but I'm contributing to society. This is people selling fucking Pokemon cards. This is actually insanity. I'm sorry. I am a hater. I am a hater. I'm a number 1 hater. I'm back on my hate. I've been back on my hater arc. I am a hater. I'm not salty. I'm just a hater. And this is absolutely fucking insane. And you should actually fucking be ashamed of yourself if you do this. And then also talk about being a fan of Pokemon and the hobby. This is just straight up bullshit. Keep this stuff in like, go do this fucking elsewhere. This is against the actual like core of Pokemon card collecting. And that it's meant to be something that low to middle income people can easily access. This is my biggest complaint, right? With all of this is that Pokemon cards are meant to be something that low to middle income people can access easily, right? It's meant to be their escape from the bullshit because they can't go on a fucking yacht. They can't travel. People, you know, I'm not dissing like low to middle income people, by the way. This is just the reality of the world. Low to middle income people can't go on a yacht. They don't go on holidays often. They can't really take their kids to Bluey World or like, you know, theme parks and stuff. They have to live within their means. But if they've got a family or they're looking for like an escape from something, right? From the banality of fucking, you know, their day-to-day job that they fucking hate, or, you know, the trials and tribulations and the challenges that we all face living, because life is just about survival and it's hard when you don't have money. They are entitled to an escape, right? And things like Pokemon cards and trading cards, that is what the escape is for them. When it's accessible, when it's $6 a pack, right? Now it's $10 a pack, right? But all this stuff that turns Pokemon card collecting into a business, what it does is it raises the floor of the base of entry, right? It raises the floor of entry for everything. It's why packs are hard to get. And then if you're trying to get packs once they're all gone, you're paying double or triple. You're paying market price. Market price exists because people are doing this, right? And legitimizing paying $550 for a console to learn how to turn Pokemon cards into a business. Turning Pokemon cards into a business means, and now it becomes a necessity for whoever's running the business. They have to continue running the business to survive because they've gone all in on it. It's no longer a side hustle. If you're paying $550 USD for a console, this isn't a side hustle now for you. You're paying a big sum of money because you're taking it very seriously, right? You're trying to make it your source of income and the source of income for your entire family, right? That and more people doing that raises the floor, because for them to then run a business, they have to pay overheads. They've got more expenses. For them to continue running a successful and profitable business, they need to raise prices or keep prices at a certain level to be able to pay their expenses to then be able to turn a profit. Now, if you have 100 people doing that, like let's say in 2023, there was maybe like 1,000 vendors or whatever, right? And I know I'm going to rant and I'm going to read the chat in a second, but let's say you've got like 1,000 people doing that in 2024. And then stuff like this happens, which then revolutionizes or accelerates the growth of the vending space and then brings more people into doing it. Now, all of a sudden you've got, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 people doing it. So you've got, I'd wager there's maybe 3 to 5 times more vendors than there were in 2024. And then, so because of that, now you've got more people all fighting to survive, which brings the prices of everything up. And this is stuff that people don't really talk about. When people say, oh, Pokemon cards are expensive because of demand. No, it's not just simple. There's more people that want cards, so things are more expensive. That is a component of it, but this is driving it as well. This inadvertently, or actually directly, is impacting secondary market or market prices of cards. Market prices of cards is driving demand and then interest from people trying to take advantage of market price of cards, which is why you've got people lining up around the corners of stores and flippers and scalpers trying to get product at retail so then they can make money off of the market prices that have been lifted because of people and businesses like this. It is directly impacting retail price and accessibility. So if you are then also at the same time, because I know these guys always talk about the hobby and how much they love the community. If you actually care about it and want to see the space continue to grow and thrive, you wouldn't literally fucking throttle it, right? And choke it to death by doing stuff like this. This is stuff that can exist, but exist in other realms or niches. This is stuff that's come from like, you know, the tech space or sales, right? Or marketing or investing, right? And cryptocurrency. This is stuff that's come from those, which are things that exist purely to make money. They are, you know, investing. It is what it is. Like you invest in stocks, you invest in shares, you invest in businesses because you're trying to make money off of it. That's what it is. Pokemon cards aren't that. Pokemon cards are something you do for fun. It's a hobby. It's a way that you connect with people. You play a game. It's a way for people to have like a release, get a dopamine surge from something that is accessible that they can't get from other things because everything else is so expensive. We don't need to bring all the stuff and energy from the crypto world, the share world, all that shit into Pokemon and then make Pokemon another thing that is just like shares, cryptocurrency and whatever. Because by doing that, you take something that is nice and wholesome and real, and then you turn it into something else. And now it's no longer what it is and you lose it. You already have that space where you can just purely make money and gamble and speculate with shares, with cryptocurrency, right? Why turn Pokemon into that and remove it? That's my fucking issue. So when people talk about like, I'm for the hobby, but then they're doing shit like this, cap, liar, bullshit. And this is just fucking gross, dude. It's fucking gross. I'd even charge that much for a consult. Yeah, okay, so for context, Dunoir, can I say loosely what you do? Okay, Dunoir is a video editor, and Dunoir has worked on video editing projects for massive creators, right? Huge creators that you've probably seen, and then worked with big companies as well, right? And still does. So Dunoir out here in the chat saying, I don't even charge that much for a consult. And Dunoir would give like invaluable information. In fact, Dunoir's giving me invaluable information for free. So this is what I'm saying. It's fucking insane, dude. In the last 5 to 10 years, we've just seen like a lot of rich people just spawn out of nowhere. And it's really bad. Not because they have money and I don't, or like, we're like, it's not right that they have like millions and we don't, right? But because all of a sudden you get like a whole bunch of people in their 30s, in like their 20s to 30s that have like, they just spawn like, you know, 6 to 7 figure income, right? Over a 2 or 3 year span, which is great. But like, it's not forever. It can't be. It's not sustainable. Realistically, this will all slow down and cool off over the next 3 to 5 years, right? I'm not going to say it's going to crash, but I will say it will cool off because it is unsustainable. So it will cool off to a degree. And then what will happen is one of two things. The people that made a lot of money, some of them will have like reinvested it and use the capital to build elsewhere, right? To continue living for the next 50 to 60 years, because that's how it works. Like, you can't do Pokemon for 50 years. You know what I mean? You can't do vending for 50 years. It's an unknown. You can be a doctor for 50 or 60 years. You can be a lawyer for 50 to 60 years, right? Those are kind of known. So like, those are careers. You can do that, right? But you can't be a Pokemon seller for 50 or 60 years, right? These people have a lot of money and then they just reinvest it. Maybe they put it into like housing or shares, or they invest in other companies, whatever, right? Or crypto. And then they just sit on the money because they haven't actually built up any skills. If the people that have done like that, I don't want to call them the smart people, but I want to say them the aware people, right? The people that have made money from Pokemon, a lot of money, if they do that and then they just kind of like sit on earning, there's a word for it, dividends, right? They sit on earning, hello Inza, they sit on earning dividends or like rent from housing, right? Because they've bought houses. That's fine, but they live for the next 50 to 60 years on passive, that's the word, passive income, right? They don't actually, they live and they survive, but they're leeches in a sense. They pay tax, but they should be paying more. But they don't actually do anything. They're not like a doctor who contributes to society. They're not like a lawyer or, you know, an accountant, someone that provides a service. They're just living off of passive income. Our society suffers as a result because that we have less people contributing to society and more people just living off of it. That's the group of people that make money from Pokemon right now. If all this stuff cools down and then they no longer have that as a business because it's not sustainable anymore, right? They can't afford to live off just selling Pokemon cards. And they weren't smart with their money and they burned it all. Well, they just go back to whatever they were doing before. But now at the disadvantage of having lost 3 to 5 years of upskilling because they've just spent it selling Pokemon cards and they didn't actually learn anything from it. So that's 5 years negative of them actually learning anything. So that's 5 less years where they can like upskill and like grow as a person and build towards a career. So then they have to go to survive. Like, I don't want this to be a diss, but like normal jobs where they're like, I don't know, working in a warehouse or you know, they're like a laborer where like they work on a construction site. You know, they're a removalist. These are it's not meant to be a diss, but these are just jobs that people do they're like ends to a means, but they're not actually building or growing towards something. And those do contribute to society, but those kind of jobs just help. Yeah, blue collar jobs. Those kind of jobs like help society continue like and maintain, right? The current level of society, but they're not like pushing it forward, right? Which is fine. Not everyone has to push society forward. But what I'm saying is stuff like this, where people get rich really quickly, rapidly through like, you know, investing, cryptocurrency, sports gambling in general, or Pokemon cards. It's like generational wealth or mass wealth accumulation in a short period out of thin air, and then no actual contribution to society beyond that, or a very small percentage of people actually contributing to society from that. Which means ultimately, as a society, as a whole global world, right, we suffer because we have less people pushing us forward. We just maintain where we are. Then combine that with the growth and the surge in AI, right, around the world. It's fucking grim. It's diabolical. In tandem with a lack of growth, human growth and human development, we also have this rise in technological development, which humans are using to aid with their day-to-day and do more work for them, which is hindering their human growth and development even further because now we're relying on the machine to do it. So not only do you have these like random millionaires fucking spawning overnight, you then got all these people not actually working or developing or growing our society. And then you've got AI and technology, right, serving as like a crutch or a hindrance to our own personal development, but getting more work done for us. And what sucks is that the children now will associate Pokemon with that as a grift and not with you should associate a hobby with you actually liking it. But that's a whole other conversation. Yes, exactly. There are so many fucking layers to this. It feels like everyone is trying to get as rich as possible, as fast as possible before there are no more jobs due to AI. It does really feel like that too. Yes. Whether it's out of, I need to be rich for, you know, because for myself to fucking like continue living or like have self-worth, or it's out of panic of like, damn, I got to fucking build a war chest before the whole world gets crazy. The whole thing Franco's saying with kids and Pokemon is so true, because so many kids I see, they like rip a card and they go, how much is it worth? And like even my niece, the other night, oh my cousin, sorry, I think she's like 12, 13, right? And I was telling her I pulled this, and I was like, because we were talking about Pokemon cards, because I know she loves them, and she's like pretty good with her collecting, and that she doesn't really care too much about the value, and she really just likes like the thrill of putting cards in her binder. So she's like an OG. But even her, she was like, when I told her like I pulled this, she was like, how much is it worth? And I was just like, I don't know. I was like, I don't really know how much it's worth, but Gen 5 is my favorite gen, and that's one of my favorite Pokemon. So I was just like super happy. So like, it's definitely impacting, and she wasn't always like that as well. So obviously with Pokemon card collecting, it's impossible to not, like, you can't not talk about the value. It's fine to talk about the value. The issue, and I think the issue that a lot of us have here is that when value is like the only thing that people are talking about, it loses a bit of its soul. Sorry, there are a whole bunch of people just jumped in. There's a first time chatter there, Illicent. Hello, Illicent. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming down. I've kind of just been going on a rant.